And yeah, we're just getting into it. I'm so excited for this conversation because we thought that we would talk a little bit about biohacking. So I'm going to hand over to Amelia to introduce herself and the concept. I'm curious, like I'm on the edges of this, like hearing bits and bobs, like maybe read the odd post, but I still feel quite new to it. And it followed up from the interest that I have in the circadian rhythm stuff around taking care of how much blue light that we are being exposed to and all of that stuff. So it really is following my interests around staying as well as possible while also mothering and working online because I feel like we can have those things work hand in hand. So, welcome, Amelia. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and I'm excited to bring this topic, which is something that we all should be exploring. So,
Mm. Do you want to tell us a bit about you and your work that you do?
all right. So, I am a neuroscientist and my early work was on unconscious um, discrimination based on brain waves. And that expanded into performance because at one point we were like, okay, sure, we all have those type of brain waves, and I can explain a little bit, but today I want to give you something that is super fun to do, but I'm just a little bit of background. And so I have been working as a neuroscientist and biohacker for like 15 years now. I am a biohacker myself, which means that I control. I actually want to use this word because we have so much more control than we think we have.
Mhm.
And right now I am 41, about to be 42, and my biological age is 25. The reason why I say that is because I don't do too much, and that still has a huge impact. I'm also raising a daughter that she has a brain injury, that she was born premature, and she was born without the motor cortex. Life is perfect, isn't it? Because I was working as with the brain, and next thing you know, I was gifted a daughter that does not have the motor cortex. She was born without it. And through biohacking, now she's 8 and she walks, she speaks 5 languages. And so this is all through the possibilities of what biohacking does, which we know very little still about the brain. Um, and so we need to be more attentive to what else can we do in our body in order to have the experience we want in this beautiful lifetime that we all have. So I actually want to ask you all if you can just say yes or no in the chat if you know what biohacking is. Can people chat or no?
Yes, sometimes they do. Depends, they might have it on in the background and just be listening like a conversation. But sometimes, I know for me, we were sat down with a couple of my husband's clients, and they are really into wellness. So one of them, my friend Amber, struggles with migraine. I don't think I'm supposed to say struggle though. She calls herself a migraine warrior. So she's lived with it for a large portion of our life. And then her partner had some chronic stress stuff with work. And then they were talking about biohacking. He was really into it. And it was to do with timing things and like certain types of supplements and certain types of foods at different times. And in the book, there's a book called The 4 Types of Wealth that I would really recommend to lots of people. I think it's 4, it might be 5, might be 5. Anyway, it's really good. And he talks about biohacking, but it's from a male perspective. And when
Yeah.
I read it, and I just thought that sounds exhausting. Like as a mother, like I just feel like no, I can't. No, I'm not doing that. Like it was also very detailed around like the eating and the times and
Mhm.
the fasting windows, and I was like, I just
Yeah.
don't know if I'm built for that. Like I
Yeah.
start the day with coffee, so so that's where I am with it
You
all.
know, it can become impossible,
Mm,
because
mhm.
there is too much. And but the beauty of it is that you can start to learn who you are
Uh-huh.
as your biology is performing. And so I want to add um, a term to biohacking, which is the art of controlling your biology. And you are the master. So
Mm,
you can control your environment from inside and outside but that needs to be an individual journey because, like I say, a lot of the research on biohacking and on the body performance, it's done in men.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's just how science is because there's
Oh, 2 seconds. I'm just going to pop down, but carry on talking. I'll be back.
okay. So there is way more research done in men, but just because the scientists are men. So now women are starting to come in and saying, hey, how can you're a man, of course you're interested on that type of body, on that type of performance, but now women scientists are starting to take on charge and being like, okay, the body of the women is very complex because of our cycles as well. So when it comes to research, it's much easier to do on men as well because they don't have the cycles that we have. But now we have way more research about us women. Okay, so whenever you start biohacking, you are the masterpiece, right? So that's the thing. It needs to be individualized. We can all have a lot of information and a lot of data, but we need to start learning how our body responds to the environment. Okay. And the first thing that starts when you biohack is that the hack addresses hidden inflammation. Like, for example, if you're drinking coffee with creatine, which something I'll suggest for everybody because that's easy, or even
Okay.
a tea, you know, because that also
I've got the
increases.
creatine in the cupboard. I've got the collagen in the cupboards. I've got all these things
Yeah,
in the
you just
cupboard.
add to your coffee. Just add to your coffee because that is it works inside the cells, increasing the ATP, which is the energy you have to perform. Your brain, it's an organ that it's very lazy. It requires not a lot of energy to stay active. So if you can increase and the majority of the time, the brain and the body, it's healing ourselves from the daily toxins that we are exposed and for a lot of a lot of things that we eat that has a lot of not things that are so good for our bodies, so the body is just healing itself. So my point on biohacking is like, how can we give the body a little bit more nutrition, overall holistic nutrition? So instead of healing every time, all the time, is actually helping us to thrive, helping us more synchronization in our brain so we can perceive more with less because now the body's not just healing all the time. So that's the
Mm,
first thing that happens when you start biohacking. So the list, it's endless. But today I actually want to give a very advanced hack for the community because it's advanced because it takes two systems and um, overwrite one system, which is the default mode network system in our brain that give us the perception of who we are. And that perception only is based on biases and stereotypes, which comes from imprinting and conditioning. So everything that happens to you until the age of 7, the where you grew up, how was your performance at school back then, right? So the brain start creating little blocks and say, okay, this is who you are. And so you
mm,
start predicting the future, which is what's happening to us right now, and say, okay, so this is happening to us. And the only way we can perceive is based on those experiences. Because for the brain to perceive more, it requires too much energy, right? And so that energy makes makes the brain produce energy to reduce what we call the electricity happening on those blockages. Let's just say, do that, do this, do that. Because obviously, it's kind of clear if we want to do something new, it requires some type of like energy for us to be like, okay, I know I'm afraid of this, because, or, like let's just put a simple example. If you were beaten by a dog early on in your life, okay?
mm.
one day you're walking on the street and nothing really happened. It's just like, you hurt and you're like, oh, that was something, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So 10 years later, you're walking by a dog and that dog barks to you. That dog's on the leash, it barks to you. But your system, your cortisol system, your stress system lights up, even though nothing happened. But because you had that previous experience, that
mhm,
that bark, it will. It's just how the body operates. Release cortisol, release stress, and you're gonna be like, oh, something happened. Nothing had happened. But now your body is running on cortisol. So I ask everybody, it's like there's a lot of things that have happened to us in the past that create that unconscious memory to protect us, even though we don't need it anymore because we have the beautiful frontal cortex to give us intelligence to say, well, that dog on the leash, so nothing is going to happen to me.
mm,
How do we override that, which is a very sophisticated system? We need to create a system that is even more sophisticated than that. Now I have another question to you guys.
mm.
Do you guys know that your heart has neurons? I wonder, let's see on the chat. Say yes, no.
I think I've never thought about it before. Like so much makes sense, like so much that I've read around, early childhood experiences and formative child experiences definitely makes sense. I definitely think there's a piece as well in how quickly we've had to learn to be online and to use tech that we can't have possibly caught up with. So there's that piece, isn't there? That sometimes I find like my nervous system will be high on red alert, and I'm like, what is this? Why am I standing up eating my breakfast in the kitchen? Like, let's just sit down. Like, what's going on? And I think it's just because there's been a bit to process that I've read beforehand. So there's those sorts of things that I think we're getting much more aware of. Obviously, burnout is talked about a lot more than it ever was. I think, it was talked about in terms of nervous breakdowns when I was
Yeah.
younger. Now talked about as burnout, but it's the same, right? I think we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the nervous system shutting down and
Yep.
someone not being able to physically do the activities that they were used to doing.
Yep. But what is very important to bring it up is that even if you are aware, you cannot change the physiology because it's
Mm,
automatic. It's
mhm,
really part of you that is what is on the primitive brain, which is
mm,
just supposed to keep you safe. It's not
yeah.
supposed to keep you happy. It's not supposed to keep you sad. There's no polarity in that. The only thing it does
Mm,
is trigger. So it's a
mhm,
machine. So that's the interesting thing that biohacking does, and this hack that I'm going to give it to you today is that awareness will not change automatic behavior
mm,
because
mhm,
it's it's under awareness that happens. So we can be conscious, we can do a lot of work, but if that dog barks, your system will respond. Now, if you were, you're going to be like, okay, maybe I can use breath, maybe I can use certain techniques to um, decrease, right, the surge of
mm,
stress that happens in the body. But that trigger, it's on. So now the
mm,
body to do a lot of things to turn that off. Once
mhm,
we start sending the signal to your body, and then the body's like, until it gets to the place, it's like, okay, nothing happened. You already have cortisol in your life. Sure,
mhm,
cortisol also helps you. But whenever we have those happening to us all the time, it causes chronic stress. And it's
mhm,
just, that water that you turn that has like dripping the water. And so that creates hidden inflammation. And
mm.
so as a biohacker, I only try to address those hidden inflammations. So my it's not all the time healing, 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 healing.
I understand, yeah. And so this mirrors for those of you that were with the on the workshop with Nico Kennedy, where we were speaking about the impact of blue light and really taking care of our circadian rhythms. Again, we were talking about this because we were talking about the production of melatonin. Uh, yeah, just 2 seconds.
Yes. So I see that some people say yes, that you guys know that the heart has neurons. That's a discovery that is pretty new. It's from around 1991, which is so interesting because everybody, all in the science world, everybody was like, well, if we can transfer the heart from one body to another body, then we must know everything that has to know about the heart. So that research was like sleeping until they were like, oh, the heart has neurons and more. Actually, I wanted to wait for Claire to see if she knows this because it's such a awakening of how to address those hidden inflammations and also how to address um, this combination of awareness and everything that is hidden right outside of your how much access you have to that physiology. So let me read some of the chat here while she is here. Not just some people that join. Well, so I guess I will continue. So the heart has neurons, and the horse has around 40,000 neurons. It's not a lot, not a lot. But what is interesting about neurons of the heart is that it does not use the cognitive process that the neurons in the brain uses. Okay, which means that the neurons in your heart, it's not conditioned by that dog that bit you when you were younger. That dog, that neuron in the heart does not carry that memory. Okay, and furthermore, the neurons in the heart, it's sending way more information to the brain via the vagus nervous system than the brain is sending down to the body. So wait a second. The heart is sending 95 more times information to the brain that the brain is sending to the body. So how does that work? Yeah, that's what's happening. The thing is that we are not aware. The brain, it's not decoding or doesn't understand the language that the heart is sending to the brain. So the hack and that I want to give to you guys today is how to give the right language for the neurons of the heart to connect with the neurons of the brain. So you can create a large network. So whenever you are experiencing that bark again, that bark is not going to light your HPA system, where is where your cortisol will light. Okay. Are you guys familiar with this combination of heart and brain coherence? Have you guys heard of that before? Let's see. Can you tell me on the chat? I don't see anybody. Let's see. No, nobody. Nobody heard of that concept before. Okay, so nobody's answering. Come on, just say something. Just say yes or no. If you guys have heard of the concept of heart and brain coherence. I see that Dadia say yes, maybe for the neurons in the heart.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll get in there a bit now. I might have to go one more time.
No, no worries. I was telling everybody about the neurons in the heart. So I just
Mhm.
repeat to you because it's such a it's such a beautiful system. So the neurons in your heart, you have around 40,000. And those neurons, they work like the neurons in the brain. However, those neurons do not pass to the same cognitive process that the neurons in the brain passes, which means that they are not conditioned. They do not remember the dog that the experience of the dog. So whenever you see a dog barking, the present time, the neurons in the heart is not going to interpret that as be careful. Okay.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
interesting thing as well is that this system is sending way more information to the brain through the vagus nervous system than the brain sending to the body.
Mm.
So, saying that we having this system that is doing a lot of work in our bodies, and many people are not aware. So for me, that's an advanced biohack because we will affect many other things, which sleep that you brought it up, which is one of the major things that we should be hacking. Um, nutrition, right? Because it creates a level of healing in our body that addresses so much more. That's why I have that age. I'm not like so controlling with everything, but I am very
Mm.
controlling how the neurons of my heart are connected to the neurons in my brain, creating
Mm.
a larger system to override that system. So once you connect that system, what that system allows you to enter what we call the subconscious mind, where is the awareness and the everything it is under awareness. Why do you want to have to access to that? Because that's who you are. Because that's who we are. A lot of our brain is doing very little of the work, um, because this part of the body gives you access to much more possibilities of what the brain can do. Now, what that means to us in terms of creative expression, once you create the language that connects your heart to the brain, a lot of healing happens in your body. But not only that, it increases the um, a synchronization of a brain wave that calls gamma in your brain.
Mm.
A lot of very advanced meditators can get into that brain wave, but you can do that only by synchronizing this
Ah.
heart and brain. And so once you do that, and usually it takes like 3 minutes, we can do that here if you want. Once we do that, you have a window of 6 hours of potential because now your body got to that brain wave that is not healing, that is not just healing your body, that you enter in the state of thriving. Okay.
Mm.
So all hormones start getting balanced, everything start getting balanced just from this preference. Because again, those neurons are controlling 95% of everything that's going on. So
Mm.
to the brain's like, oh, I have health. I don't need to be healing all the time. Now we can
Yeah.
try because I have support. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
guys have any questions about that? I can go, on because it's such a, a a big step when it comes to hacking, a big step that when it comes to technology, to the body technology. This is a upgrade that we can bring in to our that we will be able to see the performance. And I can open for questions before I give you one way of doing. But one thing that's very interesting is that we can know if we are, because like for example, let's say if we are meditating or if we're doing other techniques, and if you're not like very intense like some of the people that biohack, that we wear a bunch of stuff to understand the data, we can know for sure if that's working or not, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Also in coherence, you can know if you want incoherence or not based on how
Mm.
they're eating and based on the HRV of the heart. So
Mhm.
you can actually tell if you're entering coherence or not, right? Which is so much fun to have that confidence and say, oh, now I know for the next 6 hours, I actually have that superpower to enter my subconscious, understanding that my default mode is not going to be shut down because of previous trauma. And again,
Mm.
what can be the door bargain or something that major.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, do you guys have any questions about this concept?
It's fascinating. Yeah, do put them in the comments. It's making me sort of reflect a bit because this week I had to have a bit of a confrontational phone call, and I was sort of back to back meetings. It was really busy, and it's not normally that busy. And after I'd finished it all, I rang my husband, and I was in the middle of telling him about the phone call, and I had to hang up to be sick. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm getting sick," and I wasn't sick. Like it wasn't that. It was like my body being like, this is
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
Mm.
we know like this technique, whenever you need to encounter a difficult situation like a phone call
Mm,
or business strategy or
mm,
if you use that, you see that you're going to have a little bit of more range to understand both perspective because you just got to be able to work faster. You're going to see everything faster. Your perception is going to increase because again, we increase activity of parts of your brain that gives you that potential. And then when it happen, when you are done with that call, like, your body is not going to respond like it was if you're only using the default mode because the body generates this loop, right? So the default mode is just like that's why it's so hard to change habits because the habit live in that part of the brain. So that pattern will always continue over and over and over. And so the more you leave that pattern, the more stress that partner will give because it just lights faster the system that gives you stress. And then if you
yeah.
have inflammation in your body, which we all do, just because we live real life,
Mhm,
then the body is just going to respond faster because like, oh, this happened before. Let's just do it. Let's just
mhm,
cortisol. Let's like everybody and let's create the alarm. And so
mm,
the interesting thing about cortisol is that, based on that situation you're saying, is that it's one of those key things. They actually have a key that opens pretty much every single cell in the body because it's also a healing, right? Cortisol also heals you. Um,
mm,
you know, so if you don't need that healing, cortisol is open that door of that cell. That cell's like, so what are you doing here? We don't need any healing. Oh, now I need to clean you from being here. And so let's create
mm,
is inflammation also creates healing. But so
mhm,
it's a very interesting process. Our bodies are life. I think it's so important for us at this point with all the amount of information we have, with the amount of technology we have, it's like our body are talking to us. You know,
mhm,
mean, the language that our body are speaking to us, not only to hear ourselves, but also to upgrade ourselves and the way we perform.
mm, mhm, mm. Yeah, amazing. So good. Does anybody want to ask anything? Anyone that's here live? Just having a look. Obviously some of these will be from before. Yeah, people saying it's really interesting and they didn't know that about the heart and the neurons. So we've all learned something today, which is really nice, isn't it? So, so nice.
Really,
And so you have some writing about this on your Substack, Amelia. We can go over and like take our time to digest some of your resources and things. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
can actually give you a resource, but I want to teach you how to do coherence today.
Yeah.
Because we should try, you know. What I do write, so right now on Substack on Tuesdays, I write right now I'm writing about the memory that
Mhm.
is our cells, what memory does to us because it creates a personality that perhaps is not yours. Because
Mhm.
or it's not you have control over that personality if you
Mm,
understand what that memory is doing to you. And the interesting
mm.
thing about memory is that the majority of the memories we have are not true.
Yeah.
Are not true because a
Yeah.
lot of well, and we can go on. So right now I'm writing about that. So increase on that knowledge of perceive the world. You know,
Yeah.
knowledge is power, and knowledge is what gives you access to your deeper self and your deeper. So
Mm,
sometimes you can actually go behind that memory, which is sometimes even living your body. It's not in your
mhm,
consciousness, in your awareness anymore, right? So
mhm,
it's really cool to just to be able to know this stuff. And then now I'm going to be writing about sensation, and after that I'm going to be writing about the neurons in the heart. But today I want to give you guys one way to enter to increase this coherence. Is that
mm,
okay?
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that'd be really nice. And then I'll have to go just because of this work that's happening, but that'd be so nice. Yeah.
Yes. So, or if you want, we can do a next call and I can do it. So if you because we can continue having
Yeah.
this conversation. Maybe today you can.
Yeah, we could do it a second part because I would like to be present. It's just
Right.
one of those frustrating things with the heating system. We were trying to get it fixed because it's freezing, but he's saying we need a part and I've got to do a thing. So I guess my brain's a bit somewhere else, but it's so gorgeous. There's a
Yeah.
beautiful question from Mary Beth, which says, how can this help in the teenage realm? My 16-year-old recovered from leukemia, so it's a
Yeah.
long path healing psychologically for him. When we
Yeah.
go for checks, anxiety is hard. Any tips? And I've got some of that in my world as well, so I can pass those on to my friend who has something similar.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to say to Mary is that once you create this coherence, something in your nervous system changes and it starts impacting the people next to you. Because I'm sure we all know this, that whenever we enter in a room or some people enter in a room, they change the vibe.
Yeah.
Right. Just change the vibe. Something in them just did that. So
Mm.
for you, Mary, I can actually send you a resource for you to read about heart and brain coherence so you can start doing it. And I can send you some data so you understand the healing that that does in the body, because a lot of the anxiety, a lot, even depression has to do with
Mm.
in the body. Okay. So
Mm.
we
Mhm.
can address that, those hidden things. And then there's so many other tools, but I love to do things that are hidden, because it's like, how can you address that? Like, we can do it, we can use a lot of techniques, but if we're not addressing things that are hidden, how do we change it? Right? It's very
Yeah.
difficult. So I would love for you to try to do that, and also to have your son or your
Yeah.
teenager
Good. Yeah.
to
Mm.
to do heart and brain coherence himself, himself, because then two nervous system will stay on the same. Like the heart also, and I know Clary need to go, but the last thing I'm going to say is that the heart, all our organs carry electricity, right? You not sure if you guys know
Yeah.
this or
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
and the heart is the one that has the most amount of electricity that leaves the body. So that's why
Mm.
you need all the rooms, because that is nervous system to nervous system. That's why people
Mm.
see or energy on my field, it's electricity. It's like it's the same, but we can measure that. We can see how far that is in your body, and that is impacting the person next to you. So I would start with you doing that with your son, and then teaching him to do it. And then for you as well, I do have hacks for teenagers, because what a times we are living
A
in
lot going on. Yeah.
naturalization of the internet. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
we can pass along. Yeah, it's really
That's so generous and so beautiful. And also, I just want to mention cranial sacral therapy. So, my husband has had long COVID since my daughter was born 5 years ago, and he's retrained as a cranial sacral therapist because it was one of the things that really started to help him to reset his nervous system and tell his body, like, put all this down now. We've got stuff to be doing, we've got a life to live. And I know that that massively helps with people's nervous system. So, although I'm not an expert in any of it, Mary Beth, if you wanted to look up a cranial sacral therapist near you, that might be another good thing to look at for your son, and just research, because these things just aren't talked about. We went to the far ends of the earth to try and find healing for Dave and to try and understand all of this stuff. So that's like another healing modality that could be really supportive alongside the stuff that we've talked about today. So thank you so, so much for your generosity and your wisdom and all of this beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful. And yet we'll hop on next week or the week after and we'll do the second part. And
yeah,
then I can share these as two parts. Let's do that.
yeah. One thing that will be fun next time is that when whoever comes in, be prepared with idea that you can execute. Like for example, Mary, if you want to create a protocol that comes from your
Yeah.
gut, from your inner intelligence, we can
Yeah.
we can do the coherence, and then everybody we together can work together, can work on their own ideas, so we
Yeah.
can see
Let's
how
do that. We'll do that. We'll put a call out. Gorgeous. Okay. Well, thanks again, everyone. Thanks for coming. See you soon. Bye.